All right, we're gonna make a low poly mug. So I'm gonna use a cylinder, bring the cylinder in. This is too high poly for low poly assets. We want to be able to see the polygons. So I'll select my object, my primitive I just put down. I'll go to channel box. I'll use this create cylinder node and I'll grab my subdivision axis. I'll hold my icon over in this view, in this window. I'll hit middle mouse button to change the icon. And now when I drag it, you can see the subdivision axis going down. You can see the geometry being affected. I'm going to leave this at 12. If I click off a negative space, I can see my polygons now, and this is something more appropriate for a low poly asset. So I'm going to leave this as is. I'll right click, I'll hover over face, and I'll let go of that, and will allow me to select my faces. I want to be using the modeling toolkit for this, so I'll come up to here, click modeling toolkit. And for me, camera-based selection is turned on. For you, it might be turned off. Make sure it's on so that when you do select something, it's not selecting faces that are facing away from this view right here. So I'll turn that on. And now when I make the marquee selection by left clicking and dragging out the selection, it's not selecting that in the back, which is what I want. Now I'll hit extrude. I'll come to my divisions, I'll come to my offset and go to 0.1, and I can see it's not enough, so I'll just go to type in 0.15 and I'll hit enter. That's more what I want. Click in negative space to lock that in. I'll make a selection. I'll hit extrude again and I'll bring this down. I'll go into orthographic view by pressing space bar to make sure that I'm getting this exactly where I want. I don't want to go below it. I want to have a little bit of thickness at the bottom, something about like that. All right, I'll come back into by pressing spacebar, hovering over my mouse in perspective view, and come back to perspective view. Let's see, that's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna select this and press H to hide it, and I'm gonna work on my handle now. I'll bring in another cylinder. Let's see, height, I'll bring this down to something about like this. If you lose this window, you can always go back into your channel box. This and this are the same thing. My subdivision axis, I'll bring that down to 10. And I'll lock that in. And then these faces right here along the sides, what's going to be my handle. So I'll delete, go back into face mode by holding right mouse button and hovering over face, letting go. And then I'll select these faces, I'll hit delete. I'll marquee select these bottom ones, I'll delete those, and I'll marquee select these faces here and I'll delete those. And this leaves me with a little handle. So I'll come back into object mode and turn this on its side. So on the X up here, in my channel box, I can just type in 90. And that's kind of what I want. I want these handles here to be a little bit more in. So I'll come back to my modeling toolkit, grab these vertices, hit W, drag those in a little bit to something like that. And that's looking pretty good. So I'll go back into object mode and now position this relative to my mug. So I'll grab the base of my mug, I'll hit H, I'll grab the handle, and I'll bring this something about like that. And I can see I need to scale this down to where it fits, something about like that, maybe a little bit less. It's gonna be up to you. That's looking good. So now with this object selected, I'm going to extrude this and thicken it to where it's got some volume and it doesn't look like thin like this. So I'll hit extrude, and then I'll grab this arrow and just pull, and you can see it's kind of adding a thickness to that. And that might alter the shape of it, so you might need to go back into object space, hit R and scale it again, and then just position it. Okay, that's looking good. Now I want to be able to join this to this, but there's a edge going down the middle. So the easiest way to prep this is just rotate this at 45 degrees. So I'm going to grab my object. So if I hit E, you can see I need to rotate that on the Y. So I'll come up here to 45 degrees. Now you can see these edges are flush with these edges. I need to add some edge loops in here so I can delete a polygon here to line up with this polygon here. So that's what I'll do now. I'll select my mug. I'll go to my multi-cut tool. I'll hold down Control, and this will let me put in my edge loop. So I'll put one here. I'll put one here. I will put one here. I'll put one here. All right, this is looking pretty good. So now I want to be able to delete these polygons here and join these together. So I'll select my faces here. I'll hold Shift to select that as well and add to it, and I'll hit delete. I'll select this object. I'll grab this face. I'll grab this face, and I'll hit delete. Now I'll position this closer to this by holding over the handle, double clicking on one of the faces to where it selects everything. I'll hit W to move it, and I'll bring it a little bit closer. Okay, and this is looking pretty good, so I'm just going to combine these. I'll go to the object level, select them both, and then I'll hit combine. Now they're both in the same group, and I can use my target weld or bridge or any, I can use these other tools on both of these now. So I'll go back into component mode, edge mode, and I'll double click the little edge of my handle there, and then I'll hit Shift and double click there, and it'll loop select both of these, edge select both of these. Now I can just bridge these together. So if I hit bridge, it'll add these polygons there, and I just like how it looks right off the bat, so I'll leave it. I'll just hit select to lock that in, and I'll do the same thing down here. I'll double click on that edge loop, Shift and double click on this edge loop. I'll hit bridge, and it'll join these together. Hit select up here to lock those in, and that is our low poly mug.